I did hit live. I'm good. I wonder if we're actually live. Uh all right, here we go. Welcome. Happy Thursday damn morning, everyone. Um I know it's early if you're on the West Coast. I promise this one is worth it. I'm going to say something today that nobody in your life is going to say to you. And I'm going to say it from a place of complete and total love. Um, and if you're watching the replay, stay with me too. Um, so let's dig in. Um, we're talking about how we can start to look at the over functioning for other people um, in a way that might get you to finally freaking look at it. I think that for so many women that I work with, myself included, this has been a huge up level for me in my life over the years. It's like we believe that it's just part of who we are. So let's start with this. I want you to hear me again from a place of love. I want you to stop blaming the things around you that are making you be the one who has to do it all. I'll say it again. You might be mad, but I want you to stop blaming the things that are making you be the one who has to do it all. The job, your colleagues, your coworkers, your children, your parents, your siblings, your partner, um, the men you're dating. I want you to stop blaming them and start looking at what you're actually avoiding because that is the truth that will actually solve your problem. Um, and I know that that might be hard to hear, but I want you to stay with me. Okay, so here's who I'm talking to, and welcome to those that you're jumping on. I'm talking to the woman who does everything, and I mean everything. And this describes like 100%, I would say, of my clients. You manage the household, whether it's for a family or yourself. So you're doing all those things. You're covering for your colleagues. You're anticipating everyone's needs before they even know they have them. Um, you're the person that everyone calls. You say yes to the meal train, to the volunteering at your kid's school, the one who figures all the scheduling out, um, the one who holds it together for everyone else, and the one who is so tired, just tired. Um, but what I know is that when you ask someone about this, they say, I don't have a choice. I mean, I have to do it. First of all, no one else will. Um, but I have to. And I know that if you relate to this, I want you to hear I genuinely know that you believe that is your truth right now. And it feels like that's just the way things are. Um, but I want to offer you a different interpretation of that today. So I just want for you to just be open to what I have to hear because if it's pissing you off or it resonates, and this isn't meant to be like the kindest, well, delivered with kindness, but I feel like as a coach, my job is to just say the truth, and I'm really good at it. So I want to tell you the truth. Um, and I say this because I was her. I did this in my marriage. I did this in both of them. I did this in my business. Um, when I had a big business that I sort of started to deconstruct in 2023, but before that, I had a seven-figure, business for like 15 years, and I had these team members around me, and I kept letting them off the hook. They weren't doing their jobs effectively, situations that needed to be addressed. Um, and I just always believed in the potential of someone, or I believed that it was just easier to do it myself, and I didn't want anyone to feel bad and their circumstances were more important than mine. I think for this woman, and I believed this at a core so much that I've like said this to so many clients, like we believe that their needs are more important as theirs. And I know that you're a good person with a big heart and you're a nurturing, generous soul. So what I'm here to tell you is that your needs are at least as important as theirs at a minimum. I didn't want the discomfort. I didn't want the confrontation. I didn't like being around other people when they were uncomfortable. So I just did everything myself and I kept giving people chances and I kept absorbing the gap. And I kept adapting to whatever gap there was. So I also had that adaptation fatigue. It's like my hypervigilance constantly scanning. And I told myself it was because I was a good partner, a generous person, a kind leader. Um, the truth is that I might be all of those things, but really what was going on was I was fully in avoidance. And it cost me and it cost the people around me more than I understood at the time. And so today I want to talk to you about these 3 hidden costs of overfunctioning. And I'm on Substack, I'm watching the stuff. And I can say with a lot of confidence, I'm going to talk about things that are below the surface, not burnout, not resentment, although both of those are real costs. I want to talk about the stuff underneath, the stuff that's quietly running your life and keeping everyone around you stuck with you. And then I'm going to talk about what actually changes when you interrupt this pattern at a core level, not the glossy version, not the like, do this and change your life in 20 minutes, but the real version, which is honestly a lot messier, more honest, and ultimately so much more freeing than anything I had ever put on a slide or put on an Instagram reel. So let's go. Let me get some water. If you're just coming in, welcome. Okay. So cost number 1 of overfunctioning. You're not helping them. You're not helping them. You're keeping them exactly where they are. So every time, now I want to also understand that I get for you, because again, this is coming from a place of experience. Our neural pathways are wired in such a way that it is our default reaction, our default, meaning that it comes like an automatic response, right? So we jump in, you fix it, you smooth it over, you cover it, you anticipate it. You're removing the discomfort that would force the people around you to grow. So, whether it's your partner who never manages to learn logistics because you always do it, your adult child who might be calling you to solve problems that they're old enough to handle, your colleague who keeps dropping the ball because they know you'll catch it. That's a huge one. You're not helping them flourish, you're helping them stay. And I know that that is really, really hard to hear, but think about it this way. When have you ever grown without discomfort? When has anything real changed in your life without some friction or some struggle? A moment where you had to be resourceful and figure it out yourself. Because here's the thing, when you are over functioning, you are denying the people in your life that exact experience. It's like you are trying to be the padded room in which they live. You're so uncomfortable. And this was the truth that when I realized this, I was like, holy moly. Like, this is about me. I'm so uncomfortable about being in the discomfort of someone else's struggle that I was just trying to avoid it. And you become the person um, who isn't trusting herself to be able to go through that discomfort. And for those of you who are like, well, my colleagues are my colleagues, like they're not my partners, my family. Like, why do I care? Here's why you care. Because when you allow them to drop the ball, you're paying the price in time and energy and how you're seen as the leader. You become the person who handles it instead of the person who leads. And it's affecting your sleep and your cortisol and your joy and your balance of work life. And I know that you know that you're worth way more than that. So the question underneath this cost is, and I want you to write this down, whose discomfort are you actually managing? Theirs or yours? Feel free to leave a comment if this is resonating for you. Okay, so let's talk about cost number 2. So the cost number 2 of overfunctioning is that what we just talked about. You're over functioning to avoid your own discomfort. And this is like the broken hearted, this breaks my heart. You've lost yourself. This is the one I think people don't want to say aloud or admit out loud. Think about codependence, right? Like just being a codependent, right? When we overfunction in those relationships, we lose ourselves. And we don't overfunction because we have to. I know you think you have to. But the truth, I think, is that overfunctioning makes other people's discomfort your problem. And so doing everything for them is how you make that feeling stop. Now, here's what's crazy. Intellectually, you probably get this. You're just trading one sort of pain for another sort of pain. But when you're in the pain of overfunctioning and you're the victim and you're in the martyr and you're burned out, especially in the grind society, that's like a big flex, right? Like that's like people are like, oh yeah, right. Like that sucks for you. So we'd rather be in the pain we know than the unfamiliar pain, which is like, I feel uncomfortable because I've stopped overfunctioning. So let me give you an example. This is so basic, but everyone in the room is going to recognize. When someone asked, what do you want for dinner? I mean, I just picked this one because this was a huge one for me. I don't know. What do you want? And then the thing is, you just decide. You pick the restaurant, maybe you even make the reservation or figure out the logistics or go to the store or pick the recipe or whatever it is, right? Because the back and forth or actually saying what you want makes you anxious and it's easier to just handle it and let someone else decide. That's overfunctioning at the most basic everyday level. And the other thing is like someone else is whinging or whining or complaining or questions, right? It's playing out in the biggest decisions, your deepest relationships in all these areas of your life. So here's the deeper truth underneath that one. When you are always doing for others, deciding, handling, making it easy for what someone else wants, you never even have to ask yourself, what do I want? I can't tell you the number of coaching sessions that I've had with people when they're saying like, this isn't working and that's frustrating. And I'm like, well, what do you want? This is, and then they don't even answer. They'll just go off again. And then I'm like, hold, what do you want? When you're over functioning, you never have to sit with your own needs. You never have to make the hard decisions about your own life, and you never have to do the uncomfortable thing like set the boundary or say no, or let someone else shine. So deep down underneath the exhaustion, the resentment, there's a part of you that is using everyone else's needs as a very effective and very smart, by the way to avoid your own feelings, wants, needs, and desires. Because over functioning protects you from having to answer a really big question. And this is so huge. Write this one down. Who am I when I'm not the one holding it together? Who am I? What's my role? What's my identity? Some of you probably have been holding on to this perfectionist over functioning from like, way back childhood because you had to do it to survive. That's a whole other conversation. But here's the thing. What do I need? What do I want? What do I do with my life if I stop managing everyone else's problems? It's a terrifying thing to have that blank slate. But when you overfunction, it means you never, ever have to answer them. So here's what I know after 16 years. The identity of I'm the one who handles it all is keeping you from actually knowing who you are or who you could be. And until you're willing to loosen the grip of that identity, even a little, you'll never get to know the real answer. Okay, let's talk about cost number 3. The third cost is the energy that you're not putting toward yourself, right? Because you're avoiding a lot of stuff going on for you. Besides resentment, besides burnout, I'm talking about the energetic, the vibrational level, the heaviness is there. And it is a heaviness that is from an unconscious place, from almost like a spiritual place. So you can't logic or problem solve your way out of it. And what I think is that when we're trying to change the external situation, and that's where we put our energy, that heaviness just feels even heavier because we can't answer the question, because we actually know at the deepest part of ourselves that that's not the real problem. So we avoid, procrastinate. We avoid, mostly rationalize, justify. So the third cost is it lives in your body. So when we avoid, when we're staying in constant motion, filling every inch of our bandwidth with other people's needs and problems and logistics, the energy we're not directing toward our own truth doesn't disappear. It literally gets stuck in your body. And this stuck energy creates this heaviness. It's like an apathy. It's a sigh, you know? And you might have temporary relief from journaling or going to yoga or whatever it is, but you can't journal your way out of it. You can't try harder or be more disciplined or read more books about boundaries. You can't go around it because it's not a thinking problem. It's truly like a healing problem. And so those parts of you that had to overfunction and learn to overfunction and that are hypervigilant, the limbic part of your brain, it decided long time ago that keeping everyone else comfortable was the safest way to be loved, to be valued, to be needed. It is your whole identity. And those parts are screaming to be healed, not to be understood. I know you understand them. You went to therapy, you have the t-shirt, you've read the book. Not to be managed, not to cope better, to heal, not to rearrange your schedule or find a new job or get rid of your partner or make these binary black and white decisions like, if I just get rid of this thing, then the problem will go away. It won't. And that healing requires something that most overfunctioning women never give themselves. In fact, it's the hardest thing. It's like repulsion, and that is space, and that is stillness, and enough psychological safety to actually feel what's living underneath all the doing. That's scary as shit. I'm not going to pretend that it's not. And I also know, again, I've been doing this 17 years. It's the only thing that works. It's the only thing that changes your life and moves the dial. So what actually changes when you do this? And this is like, I'm going to call it the real version. Because I don't want to tell you that when you start interrupting these patterns, like everything is amazing. I'm going to be honest with you because I think you deserve honest more than you deserve comfortable. It's not a highlight reel. It honestly doesn't feel good at first when you start changing these patterns and your behaviors. In fact, the first thing that happens when you stop overfunctioning is things can get a little messy. You don't know what to say. You don't know how to say it. You don't trust that you did the right thing. You have a lot of self-doubt that comes up. Your kids push back. Your partner doesn't immediately step up. Your colleagues get really confused. You feel guilty, genuinely, uncomfortably guilty, because you've been the one holding it together for so long that stopping feels like abandonment. And I want to hear you to hear this like very, very clearly. That guilt is not a bad sign. It's not a sign you're doing something wrong. It's a sign that the pattern is being interrupted and it's the system pushing back. And the people around you have a lot of heavy investment in you not changing. I mean, that's true. They don't like it. But if you can stay with it and navigate and learn the new skills, This is about mindset, heart set, skill set. You will have to learn some new skills. If you can tolerate the discomfort instead of rushing back in to fix it, actually something starts to shift. The first thing that changes, that is pretty instant though, is your integrity with yourself. Not integrity as a virtue, but integrity as alignment, because that stuck energy can move. When you stop doing things out of fear or avoidance and you start making choices from the actual truth of who you know you are, even if it's buried so far deep down right now, you start to feel like yourself again. It's like your outside and your inside are finally saying the same thing. And that feeling can be unfamiliar at first as well. And it can be really disorienting because it's like, I don't even know who I am right now, because you've been living slightly sideways from yourself for so long that actually being who you are feels strange. Um, the second thing that changes, and this is the thing that no one really talks about, I think, is that for better or worse, you start to see all your relationships more clearly. And sometimes what you see is really uncomfortable. And I'm just thinking in my own mind, the thing that comes to my deepest memory is I remember when I had to let go of this person who was like my right-hand person in my company. Um, I was like, wow, they really suck. um, and I tried to and overfunction to the level of like, let me get you an executive coach, let me do this for you, let me do that. I mean, I just and seeing that for the first time, that was really, really scary. I believed I couldn't do it without the way that the relationship worked. Um, so it is more uncomfortable. But when you realize the relationship's only working because you're over functioning in it, when you find out that you stop carrying everything and the other person um, rises, that's amazing. Sometimes you discover that the friendship or the dynamic or the job was held together entirely by your willingness to absorb what wasn't yours to carry. But sometimes, and I think of a client that was doing this, her she was a CMO of a huge company. Her boss was actually like, I've been waiting for you to stop over functioning forever. Like, good job. Now you're actually a better leader. Now I'm actually going to get more staff for you. So none of this is bad news. It's information. And having that information, even when it's hard, is better than spending another decade tolerating and settling and wondering why you still have this heaviness. And the third thing, and this is where it gets really real, is that this messiness is where the growth and the healing actually starts. It's not just understanding the pattern, it's the actual healing. It's the action that creates the gap, which then makes it crystal clear what needs to be done. The part of you that needed to be indispensable, the part of you that decided a long time that love is earned through doing, love, approval, acceptance, through doing and through proving, the part of you that doesn't know how to receive without immediately giving something back, that healing doesn't happen in your head just through understanding it. It doesn't happen from reading about it or intellectually getting it. It happens when you finally have enough space and enough safety to feel what's actually there and work with it at the level where it actually lives. And that's what I do. Not talk therapy, not just insight, not just advice. Something that goes all the way down to where the pattern actually lives and changes it there forever and for the last time. And the result isn't just that your life looks different. It does. It feels lighter, more honest, and actually yours. And that is the unnameable thing that is priceless. So here's why this matters, because Saturday I'm doing an actual workshop. We've named the pattern. We've looked at what it's costing you and what it's protecting you from. And if any of this landed, if you recognize yourself in any way at all, you're probably sitting with a question right now and you're like, thank you, Marnie, for like making me see this uncomfortable stuff. What the freaking hell do I do with it? People come to me, they're like, I know, but how do I change it? Well, that's what we're going to start solving on Saturday. This Saturday, we are going to do a free 90-minute live actual workshop, a lab, where we're going to go from understanding the pattern to actually building a way out of it, a process, a framework, real coaching, not inspiration, a structure that you can use starting the moment you leave the room with some spaciousness that has been created. We're going to look at what's underneath your specific version of this because it's different for every person. And we're going to like map out what some actual next steps are so that you have the psychological safety and the knowledge to actually feel safe enough to do the thing that needs to be done. Not a vague insight, but an actual real move. We're doing it this Saturday, 10 a.m. Mountain, 12 Eastern. It's free. It's live. I'm going to work with you, coach you. So if you would like to join, we're going to drop reset in the comments. Right now, we're going to drop the link and I'll send it to you directly. What I love about doing the small group work since I've joined Substack especially is that it gives me some space to actually go in and really support people. And I always have said that I'm everybody's last stop for this work. And so I would invite you to stop figuring out what everyone else's next step is and give yourself the gift of this time. Saturday is about your next step. So don't wait until you feel ready. Come to get ready. And if there are any questions, comments, I'm happy to answer those. Otherwise, we've got the link. And I don't see any comments. Questions? We got the link in the chat. My cat is hungry. Thanks for coming. And I hope to see you all on Saturday. Mwah. Bye.